Hello and welcome to Eco Girl in a Modern World. My name is Shelley and my channel is dedicated to talking about ways to be more environmentally friendly in a modern context. I'm going to make today's video super brief. I do apologize. This is the topic that I intended to talk about, but admittedly in the days following the holiday I have gotten a little lazy. It's kind of nice to just relax and enjoy the new year, but I have been definitely keeping busy and researching some of the topics we're going to be talking about moving forward. So I just wanted to pop in and film to this week's video. But what I had seen is over the holiday season, in the last video we talked a lot about eco gift giving, and one of the gifts that I kind of noticed was jewelry that is made from recycled materials like recycled gold or recycled silver. And I've always been kind of fascinated by the ways that you could reuse metal. I think metal is one of the resources that we really do want to utilize. I feel like whenever something is small, it just kind of gets thrown away. And that little pieces really add up to being a lot, whether that's aluminum or steel or copper or gold or silver. And these are, the minerals in our earth. So, using them to their highest capacity is always a really good thing. Also, and we'll be talking about this in future videos, I actually have, there are family members going way back in my lineage who were blacksmiths. So, and this last summer I actually got a chance to go see my great-great-grandfather's blacksmith shop. And it was a beautiful place. I was so excited to see it. But, I have furniture that was made with the metal, like the square head nails of my great-great-grandfather. Now, and I'm also kind of fascinated about, in current events, there are a lot of news stories that talk about the purchase of steel mills. And I live in the United States, so the importance of keeping the production of steel and what's involved with the production of steel is something that I'm definitely going to be talking about in the future, and that's something that's very much in the news right now. And what it is when you galvanize steel, when you have to add certain chemicals to it, and you also have to use a certain type of fuel. It isn't just regular gas that you use to fire up steel plants. There is also a lot of waste that comes from the reuse of steel. It's something called slag, and actually there's in the state in which I live, there was a main steel plant that had been in use for hundreds of years, and it just closed probably about 10 years ago, and the land is being repurposed, being revitalized, but there's a lot of contamination of the ground because of the decades, of the centuries of slag runoff. So that is something that's one of the things that we're going to be researching and talking about. But the reuse of metal is really fascinating to me. I think it's an interesting topic. It's like, okay, how can this possibly be a clean endeavor? Even with blacksmiths, there were a lot of chemicals that you would use, and it would have a very detrimental effect on both the person working with the metal and the metal itself. But what I wanted to talk about today was particularly gifts, when you buy jewelry. And what had happened is over Christmas, I went ahead and I had purchased a ring that was recycled gold. And here, I'll go ahead and hold it up. It's actually really, really pretty. I don't know if it can focus on it. I'll even put up a picture so you can get a better picture of it. It's a dainty, tiny little ring. It's very shiny and it's quite beautiful. And one thing that appealed to me was the fact that it was recycled gold. Now, what happened was, of course, I've been, on YouTube watching videos about steel work and, steel, pollution, the slag and all of this. And as I was kind of going through videos, I saw a video, and I'll go ahead and post the video below. It was really interesting, that talked about a jewelry smith who had a client commission a gold piece, but they wanted the gold piece made from recycled gold, and the client provided like all this gold, like gold chains, gold rings, and said, hey, melt all this down and turn this into something else, or turn it into like a brick of gold, right? This was also fascinating to me, just to interject real quick, because when I was talking about the winter fashion, or the holiday fashion a couple videos ago, we talked about the movie Wicked and the Wizard of Oz, and I mentioned in that video there's a lot of history with the symbolism of the silver slippers. They were not ruby slippers in the original book; they were silver slippers, and that's why they're silver slippers in Wicked. But also the yellow brick road. The yellow brick road references the gold standard of how currency was based on the value of gold. So when you and that makes no difference whether the gold is in your jewelry, or in gold coins, or in gold bricks. And so again, I came across this video, and I thought it was so interesting that, you saw this metalsmith get a commission where someone gave them all of this jewelry, this pile of jewelry, and said, hey, turn this into a gold brick, right? And I watched the video, and it was it was entertaining and informative. But you would think that, okay, you just throw all the gold into a pot, heat it up, and it should melt, and I can create a brick. It's a whole lot more than that. Again, when you make jewelry, there is chemicals that are added to the jewelry to forge it. And in order to get the gold back out of it, you have to take those additives back out. And it's a very intense form of recycling. And I'm watching this video, and the person had to be very skilled to do this. And the gold went through several chemical baths, like acid bath, like it sat in acid, and the metalsmith had to know the exact, almost like a chemist, like working with a Bunsen beaker. They had to know the exact acidity. You have to be very careful because you're working with really, really heavy chemicals, and they had to do it repeatedly. Like it's just a 20-minute video, but it probably took that person days, if not hours, and they had to repeat the process. And it just got me thinking that, any form of recycling is not going to be easy. And I always kind of know that, just as an environmentalist, when you think about, we kind of think about what a scam, plastic recycling is. Plastics can only be recycled about 7 times at best. Most of the time it's not recycled at all. And even if it is recycled, only 70% of that content goes into a new product. So, the way that we use things very quickly is very wasteful, which we know, but not to guilt trip anyone about it, but it really just makes a really good case for making quality things, the novelty of things, and the way that we make a lot of cheap jewelry, a lot of plated jewelry, that is, a lot of, and it's not to knock costume jewelry. You can get some really beautiful costume jewelry, but the way that costume jewelry was always made in the past would be like a base of brass, like a brass ring, and then, there would be an electrification process that would bond either gold or platinum or rhodium. You kind of see these different metals. And I invite you, if you ever, if you're buying a new ring, just like I always tell you, when you're buying a new article of clothing, always look at the materials. Do the same thing with your rings. If you click on the contents list, you can see it might say rhodium plated or gold plated or silver plated. And that doesn't mean solid silver or solid gold. It just means that the base of it is something different, probably brass or something, with the cheaper jewelry, maybe even something else. And then the rest is kind of plated on. But I just thought it was so fascinating because chemicals are not an easy thing to deal with. It's like, okay, you're really there. The disposal of chemicals, the balance of the pH balance that you have to know. You have to wear gloves. You got to make sure you don't burn yourself. And to think that, and it takes so much time and it takes a lot of energy, and it's almost, you think, it just got me thinking. It's like, oh, okay, look how beautiful this recycled gold ring is, but how much time and how much chemicals resulted in this cute, pretty little band. I love the fact that it's recycled, but it took a lot of energy to do this, right? And, to play into that, not to jump around, I was also, I had posted a good video. I actually posted it over on my social media platforms that talked about the recycling of uranium rods, like the rods that they use in power plants. Believe it or not, a uranium rod, when it's spent, still has about 90% of energy left in it. But you have to recycle it in order to get that energy out. And it's a very intensive process. And again, it seems consistent across the board. The reason that we just buy new polyester clothes from cheaply is because it's cheaper and less intensive to make it than it is to recycle it. And that goes for clothes, that goes for plastic, it goes for uranium rods that we use in our power plants, and it goes with our jewelry too. One other video I'll post below that I thought was really interesting was another lady just like so the gold video was an actual goldsmith, like someone who deals with making, so he was a very professional and knows his stuff. The other video that I watched was this young girl, just like you and me, a regular everyday person who decided to do this with silver. And she had two mentors, and I'll again post that video down below too. That was very interesting as well. And she wanted to do the same thing. She wanted to melt down silver and turn it into another piece of jewelry. And she had two mentors. And what I thought was interesting about that video is, just like we're talking about, not all jewelry, and especially cheaper jewelry, is not 100% silver. And honestly, there's a lot of jewelry that we buy that has the stamp that says it's 100% silver, but it's not. A lot of what we buy is not very regulated. But it was so neat because her and her mentors, the two people helping her, they were going around to like thrift stores, and they were really scrutinizing the silver. And it's funny, I thought it was fascinating because of the two of the teachers who were showing her how to do this. She was like, yeah, you see this? It's too light to be 100% silver. It has a stamp that says it's 100% silver, but that's not 100%. They could kind of tell, they could differentiate. And I just thought it was really neat. It was educational, just for your own knowledge. But I just also thought it was kind of the same principle. It's very rare for something to be 100%. And again, we kind of want the novelty of things that we'll just pay for cheap jewelry, and we don't care if it's high quality. And you think about all of the additives that are in it. So it was just really interesting to see the energy, and she really did. She did have to be very careful, just like the goldsmith. She had to, melt down the silver, and in that silver, she did it kind of more of a rustic way. But in that silver, there will be additives as well, because when that jewelry that she's melting down was originally cast, you have to add things to it to actually get it to mold. So, it just got me thinking, especially post-Christmas, about how the best way is, you know, it's not that recycling doesn't work, it does, but recycling has its fair share of waste with it. There's a third video I'll post down below that talked about it. Instead of using heavy chemicals like the Goldsmith, because I was a little disturbed by that. I was like, wow, he's using straight up acid. It's like, okay, you know, how environmentally safe is that? How do you dispose of all of those chemicals after you've recycled it? But there was another video I watched that kind of lightened my mind a little, that showed the same process except using vinegar. And of course, vinegar is not going to give you the same results as using, you know, the professional grade chemicals, but I can kind of think of it the same way. Vinegar has a high acidity rate, right? If you've ever done a vinegar cleanse of your scalp, you know, you've seen, and there's great videos here on YouTube, you can mix a certain amount of water with the right amount of vinegar, and you don't want to have it too acidic because that can, you know, irritate your skin because it's a higher acidity. But I saw the same thing happen where instead of using heavy chemicals, they used vinegar, and they were able to kind of do the same thing. They were able to, what it does is it lifts out those bonding agents with the metal to leave just the pure metal. And so again, it was just really neat to talk about, and it just really got me thinking, okay, first off, how often do we really invest in quality pieces that are 100% of metal? You know, whether that's rose gold or even copper or even solid gold, you know? I saw a beautiful story that talked about Lucille Ball. When she first got married, it was kind of an impromptu, well, they had been engaged, but they were quick to, when she first married Desi Arnaz, her wedding band was brass. It was a brass ring. And I just thought that was really beautiful. There's a saying with weddings, and I don't know if it's true, but the more expensive the wedding, the shorter the marriage. And I don't wish that on anyone, but I just thought it was so beautiful that a simplistic thing, like instead of being like a real fancy gold band, she had just a ring of brass, and she wears that, you know, this, you know, you'll see pictures where she's got this gigantic, you know, Van Cleef, you know, diamond ring, you know, fashion ring, but right under it, her wedding band is very simple, and the, you know, the bond of love is there. So I just kind of think the same thing, you know, if you love something, it doesn't have to be real or sparkly. If it's a quality metal, the other thing is investing in things that are just quality made, and really having more of that in the marketplace. I think things are just made so cheaply. It's all about making the profit. It's not about, you know, making things quality or things that are meant to stand the test of time. The last thing is, I mentioned in the holiday gifts video, is buying vintage. That's one way to avoid any of the waste of both throwing things in a landfill or the chemical waste of actually going to recycle something, because it is intensive. It's energy intensive and chemical intensive. So if you just buy something vintage, that is just as beautiful. And I wanted to go ahead and give the example of, you saw that this was the new recycled gold ring. This is a vintage opal ring, which is my birthstone, but it's from the 1940s, and look at the back of it. You know, can you tell the difference? Which one is the vintage ring and which one is the recycled one, right? You know, so buying this is, and it's funny, you can get it for such a great value, and they really just don't make, I know the style of this, I have several rings, and I know you can kind of tell that it's, you know, that it's not a modern style, but I have other really beautiful rings, like my double pearl ring, that you know, I have rings that were given to me from my grandmother, and we have the same birthstone. I just think that, you know, keeping it in circulation and actually making rings of this quality is what really helps save the planet. And I think that's just a thoughtful gift. And you see some beautiful styles that can absolutely, you know, I say here all the time on this channel, you know, fashion just recycles itself. It's always going to come back around. So just find something that meets your style and you know, buy it secondhand. That saves a lot of time. But but I did think it was interesting, and I think I'm going to be watching a lot more of those videos. I don't know if ever I would, you know, endeavor to make my own jewelry, but it looks kind of fun, right? It looks kind of fun. Again, the chemicals of it, if I could do it in a natural way with like natural vinegar without, just to learn how to do it, that would be interesting. But please tell me what you think. If that's, would that be something you'd ever want to do? Would you ever, try recycling your own metal at home? If you did, what would you want to make? Also, what's your favorite metal? Do you prefer gold? Do you prefer silver? Do you think that we should be recycling more of our jewelry? Also, do you know of any, this ring, the little dainty ring was from Louisa. I know they're very known for their recycling. How about you? Do you know of any other good, renowned makers of jewelry that use recycled materials? If you are so inclined, please feel free to leave a comment and let me know. I would be really interested in that, just to see their story and how they do things. But all right, guys, so this is the last video of 2024. I just want to thank you. I started with a beloved 3 subscribers, and now I am up to 10. And I am very grateful for every single one of you, and for those who just watch my videos. If you like the content that you see here, I would be very honored if you would like, comment, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I promise you, in 2025, we're really going to be getting out and about. We're going to be talking about some heavy stuff, and we're going to be going on some adventures, and I'm really, really excited. So I hope to see you in 2025, and I wish you a very happy new year. See you in the next video. Bye.